after one day, we're back to finish off this boss. Now, I've been practicing offline how to beat him. So let's see what we can do about him. Supposedly, I haven't watched any walkthroughs, but supposedly the only thing that damages him is actually throwing the rocks, forcing him to drop the rocks that he pulls out of nowhere, that he gets from out of nowhere, and drop them on his own head, apparently. I've been practicing a lot, but I haven't tried out the strategy, actually, so let's see. Hopefully this is the end of the game, and we can get to the final analysis. This time we've just begun, so I'll have plenty of time for the detailed and in-depth analysis for Advent Rising. So, like that, and then you attack him. So it's otherwise this guy is literally invulnerable against any and all kinds of damage. Only a charged trust me, I spent like 3 more hours after finishing the stream, which was already 2 hours, and out of those, 1 was this boss, so in total 4 hours, and there was no visible damage to him. There's still no visible damage, but at least there's the animation that we're damaging him, actually. Alright, so we select him and we use it. So see that there's no special difficulty whatsoever. You just need to drop. I didn't even know there was a charged shot. So basically you force him to drop that thing, and there we go. It's turning yellow. I think the reticule around him, I think it's turning yellow. So it wasn't that much of a difficult fight. You can check out the previous stream in which I spent 1 hour trying to damage him, doing a lot of damage, but it was useless. So after 5 hours, yes, you can call me stupid and all of those things, after 4 hours I realized that even if I was playing perfectly, using all of my arsenal against him, all I had at my disposal, that wasn't the problem. The problem was that I was not damaging him at all. So this is the only way to actually kill him. It's extremely easy, but you need to know that this is what you have to do. So I hate when games do this kind of thing. I know it's old school and all of that, but anyway, it's... Oh, I have no grenades left. But here you can see that it was simple enough that I was trying to figure out what kind of... And there we go. It was extremely simple, and when I saw how you beat this thing, I thought, well, I could have... this was hard mode, so I thought, well, that's disappointing. I mean, it's so easy and stupid. So there's no incredible boss fight with a lot of APM and all of that. It's simple and
typical. We gotta go. We're pretty deep underground. Hope you brought your runners. What are you talking about? We're standing on a landing platform. Cover me while I get this thing airborne.
alright, so we're back at the ship. Oh. I don't know. Here's our friend. The floating weapon. The empty floating weapon, and we go back to it. See, it was far simpler than I had anticipated, and yesterday I was wasting a lot of time. You can see yesterday's gameplay. It was one of my best gameplays, by the way, if I do say so myself, in which I killed 2 melee bosses using the time shift, which were invulnerable to standard ammunition. So yeah, but when I reached the boss fight, I had no idea what to do. So yeah, if you're looking for the most advanced gameplay for the game, I think the previous VOD it's the one that truly reflects it, because it's only kinetic powers. It's only kinetic powers, and right, here we go. It's only kinetic powers, so there's no ammunition involved, and it's quite advanced. The development of the core gameplay mechanics that the game has had over the course of this week has been quite interesting, because we went from only using ammunition, and I've said this myself, from that to using only kinetic powers, as you are seeing right now. So when I saw that boss fight, no matter what you did, no matter, I tried attacking him with every weapon possible yesterday, you saw it, and then I went on trying, but after 4 hours I got tired, and well, I didn't even know that that if you didn't drop that rock on his head, there was no other possible way of succeeding. So what do we do now? Can this thing... Alright, so we have to... Oh, look at that animation. The lava. Oh, nice. I love the animation for the lava when you have an anti-gravity vehicle. There we go. Also, we did the whole previous level without using a vehicle when we were supposed to do so, yeah. You can see that I'm quite proud of yesterday's gameplay. But today it's a whole different story, because the only thing I regret is not being able to figure out the boss mechanics on my own 100%, but I tried for 5 hours, so that is more honest telling you than acting as if I didn't consult a guide at all. It wasn't a walkthrough, it was a Steam guide. Quite useful, but at least now, because this game literally has no new objective, has literally no footage. At least I couldn't find footage. So come on. That's a lot of guys that want to kill me. Oh, more over there. Oh, and another guy over here. Yeah, we're not surviving this at all. Alright, also from there. Checkpoint, my favorite word. But when I saw that the boss was so stupidly simple, I thought to myself, God, I mean, how didn't I think about it? But then, immediately, after thinking, how could I not think about that? Well, I said to myself, if you don't know what the boss is about, it's difficult to figure out that you have to do exactly that, otherwise it's impossible to damage it. So yeah, that kind of like comforted myself. It had such a specific mechanic that if you didn't drop that rock on his head while charging, I also didn't know that you could actually charge the surge power. Alright, there's a melee guy. This is the one we killed last time using our... Alright, need to be careful. Indeed, you need to be careful. Don't do what I just did. And now. Alright, I think these are the last levels for the game. I don't know, but maybe the game should be finishing. It's been a long trip, that's for sure. On hard difficulty, at least, it takes a week and maybe even a bit more to finish this game. At least that has been my experience so far. Alright, so we got 2 mechs and 2 melee bosses. There we go, that's one down. If you target them properly, you can kill them like that in mostly one blow. But you need to be exact and not do that. It's an extremely short window of time that you have to be careful and make the most use of it to kill the bosses. Those guys, especially the melee seekers. Otherwise, they will reflect your shots and they are going to kill you in one blow. It's a one-hit kill, there's no room for error. So he also reflects the powers as well. Yesterday I thought for a second that powers could somehow circumvent this guy's defense, but it's not the case. Alright, are we alive? Yeah, we are. At least for now. Oh. Damn, he was saved by a crate. Damn. Alright, need to make sure they don't surround myself. As I've told you countless times, gentlemen, if you are playing the game on hard difficulty, be prepared for a challenge, because you die in a matter of milliseconds. It lasts only an instant and you are dead. Before you even know it. Like that. I thought he was. I had an opening to kill him. Alright. Also, another advice is that make sure you level up then all of your kinetic powers, especially time shift as well as shatter, because they are quite useful and literally the only useful. The only I can't believe I killed 2 of these yesterday without any kind of problem. But then again, I throw them into the lava. I threw them into the lava. There we go. Alright, let's kill that other guy. One, two, three, four, five, six. There we go. See that they are also invulnerable to explosions. Oh boy. Yeah. The game definitely knows that we have a lot of incredible powers that make the rest of the enemies quite trivial. And that's why they use those melee guys. Those were bosses actually. Alright, so let's try to kill the boss. Oh, damn it. If only they could come over here and fight me without those mechs acting as backup. Oh no. That one first, and then we'll try to... See, that's the problem. Alright, so over here the mech shouldn't... Oh. There we go, slow motion plus shatter. And damn, it's still attacking us. There we go. Now it's impossible to try to fight both of them. Imagine that I cannot beat them without... Nice try. Damn, there's another mech. How about you? Well, I mean, this is a lethal combination. Oh no, maybe it was still the same mech that I was facing before. Let's try to use our dark fires. No, what the? There we go. I need to keep my distance and... You can't imagine how difficult that combination of enemies is. Oh boy. We are definitely approaching the end. That's what I can tell you. Soon I can smell the analysis that I'm going to do for this gem. God, yeah, Shatter, it's not the weapon to use against this enemy. That's for sure. I'll try to use my other weapons. Damn. It's as if the developers knew that Shatter can kill anything except for these guys. So they use them. Well, but I almost killed him. So, yeah, that's the strategy. Oh, damn it. There we go. And... alright. Let's do this the boring way, since we don't have any checkpoints after killing the mechs. Maybe if I... oh, what was that? I still can't believe that that boss fight was so easy when compared to the previous boss fight, which was the... no. Please die. Nice. Careful. Careful. Damn. He took me by surprise. But there we go. Like that, out of nowhere, we can go back to the usual combo. Yeah, it's a quite small opening that you have to take and do it at the precise moment in which that guy jumps. That's why it's so difficult. And if on top of that you add that they had two mechs as cover, that the developer for the game certainly knew how to put pressure on you. New find transportation, there's no checkpoint, so there we go, checkpoint. Oh boy. Thanks. Anyway, I don't know what killed me. Snipers. Yeah, snipers or whatever the fuck they are. Such an underrated gem, gentlemen. Such an underrated gem. Check out the bots. I analyzed every possible feature of the game during them, and now only the final analysis remains. That's why I'm not continuously commenting on all of the mechanics I've mentioned countless times. I don't want to be boring. So... Oh, what? Right. There must be a guy right below the elevator. That's why I'm not commenting and not doing any analysis, because I've been analyzing these for 10 gameplays, 10 walkthroughs, if you want to call them like that, one after the other. Check out the streams, check out the VODs if you're watching it on YouTube. I've analyzed every possible feature of the game, the more basic ones, the graphics, everything, to the more advanced mechanics and all of that. And only the final analysis remains, as I've told you, which I will also do once we finish the game, so that's why I don't want to be boring and continuously analyze it when we are about to do so for an hour or even more once we beat the game. So yeah. I don't think this thing can take any more hits. This is an absolute Halo section, 100%. There we go. Let's get out of this thing. Yeah. You saw the transition from simply from this game being simply a third-person shooter to mixing the kinetic powers with the shooter mechanics to using purely shooter kinetic powers instead of shooter mechanics. A lot of gameplay depth. There's a learning curve for the game, that's for sure, and it hasn't disappointed me at all. In fact, the ones I've always mentioned, which are PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy, Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter, Peria, Unreal Championship 2, the Lakari Conflict, all of those original Xbox games, none of them comes even close to this one. Sorry. It's, in my opinion, I think the only one which is quite close would be Kill Switch, which is also on the PS2 as well as PC. Kill Switch, and maybe PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy. But these are, I think, Advent Rising, it's a bit slightly more polished, consider it's 2005, than all of those games. It's simply, and it has far more strategic depth. It has a modern checkpoint system. It has a lot of features that those games that I've mentioned, while they are great, and also this one has such an extremely polished difficulty that that combination of factors turn Advent Rising into a timeless classic, at least in my opinion. And it's a shame that this game didn't get the praise it deserved. On that, if you're interested on this game's story, I suggest checking out the first stream in which a viewer researched and we've commented together the context of the game's release. Alright, I have no choice but to enter in that vehicle. Inside of that vehicle, I can get through the lava without it. Let's try not locking onto them, because then it's more difficult to dodge their attacks. This is a classic artificial intelligence exploit. The range. Oh, but here there was a surprise waiting for us. Oh, look at the lava. Look at the... Yeah, this game still surprised me. Well beyond the uh, 9th gameplay stream that I did. So, because of the physics, it has the most advanced physics I've seen in probably any Xbox game. Of course, the best Xbox game will always be Halo. I think that's there's no doubt about that. There's a general consensus. But as a third-person shooter, I think this one is the best. Even better than Psyops the Mindgate Conspiracy, which would be a close second. But third-person shooters on the original Xbox, again, if you go to the Xbox 360, of course, Gears of War and a lot of those are better. But on original Xbox would be Advent Rising, Kill Switch, and Psyops the Mindgate Conspiracy. They would be the podium of third-person shooters on original Xbox. And I would personally put Advent Rising on par or even above Kill Switch. The thing is that maybe regarding the innovation category of that game, I analyzed them like that. Kill Switch had a lot of ideas that then Cliff Blesinski looked into to then release Gears of War. In order to then release Gears of War. So you could argue that Kill Switch is a bit more important than Advent Rising, but as far as fun goes, graphics, physics, gameplay mechanics, I think Advent Rising is the best. It's simply way too good. I'll mention all of this during the analysis, don't worry. That's why I'm not doing all of those commentaries right now. But we are certainly reaching the finale. At least I think so. Also, the game is long and no section of the game is weak. All of them are pretty polished, pretty well thought, well written. There's never a dull moment with this game. And when the gameplay is not enough to keep you hooked to it, well, damn it, if we... Oh, no, we are not doing that again. Oh, there's a guy flying over there. No, we are not doing that again. We'll simply... Hello? We'll simply... This thing is not turning. Hello? Thanks. No, we're not staying here and wasting our time. Can I get through here? Thanks. Let's hope this thing doesn't explode. Oh, you saw me clearing it. That's the important thing. Let's simply push through. If they destroy us, we'll do so again. but I'm not wasting any more time on this section. In this section, sorry. So here we go. There are a lot of generators. I can see enemies over there. Let's get out of here. Everything is on flames. Alright. There we go. Feel free to... There, I think our vehicle just exploded over there. No, it didn't explode. So let's kill them from this. There's an enemy over there. Yeah. This is the best for your mental health and mine when you have to do such a long checkpoint all over again. The best thing to do is to simply do that in this game. Trust me, I'm telling this to you for your own good, for your own mental health. Still no checkpoint. I can understand how that killed us, but well. Here we go again. But so let's take the shortcut. Here we go. There we go. Alright. Damn, I hope this thing holds on. Damn it. And it didn't. Nice. So I think I'll simply get straight to the exit once I reach that section. There we go. Damn. Damn. I feel like a speedrunner. Or at least this will be the closest I'll feel to that. Alright. Hahaha. It exploded, but I got out of it just at the very exact and needed second. I love it when things go that way. Nice. Anybody survived? No, you didn't. Damn, the thing is coming down. Alright, we just beat the Seekers. Give me a second. Oh. So, we won. Could this be the ending? Right, we can create bubbles of invulnerability. It's the ending. Celebration. Happiness. I can't believe it.
You've got local on me. I kind of like it. It's beautiful. Is it going to be hard leaving so soon, Norm? It seems as though we just arrived.
It is always difficult to leave my home, Exalted One. But the home I leave now is very different from the Aurelia I left to find you.
How so?
It is a place filled with hope. Never before have my people stood so united. The possibilities spread out before us seem limitless. We need to be down to the envoy vessel shortly, my friend, so I'd better go and make some final assignations. If you'll excuse me.
Did he really just call us friends? I thought my translator had gone buggy. I wonder what this Galactic Senate is going to be like. It seems like I'm still getting used to the strangeness of this world.
I don't know. Norm said that there are some races out there that even make the Seekers look tame.
Is it too late to change my flight?
Hey, come on, no worries, man. You happen to be traveling with someone who can shoot fire out of his hands.
Oh, Gideon. There's something I've been wanting to tell you.
Finally.
Well, you're not the only demigod on this flight.
So, what about the human race? Wasn't it extinct? Oh, that's the ending. Nice. Alright, there you can see Orson Scott Card. All of them. I think this is the ending. Well, I expected a tremendously difficult final boss, but apparently there's none. Well, alright, we'll have enough time for the analysis. Excellent, gentlemen. So, I hope this thing isn't copyrighted. No, I don't think so. Remember, gentlemen, this game was supposed to be the first in a trilogy. So I think I just spotted a lot of hints that there was going to be a second and third game. And I remember reading that Marlin would be the protagonist of those, and that is it's cohesive with the fact that he has powers just like Gideon. I'll never be able to understand how people are unable to appreciate these works of art and that they are playing Fortnite 24 hours a day. Never. I'll never be able to do so. Excellent. Without knowing it, I actually timed the streams perfectly for the final analysis, gentlemen. Oh, such a good theme. If only they included this. So we're back at the Galactic Senate. What? There's a post-ending cinematic?
The Senate recognizes Commander Inorum Tensberg, envoy from the client world Aurania.
Members of the Senate, I have come before you today with news that is both shocking and unavoidable. The Encol have been carrying out a program of systematic genocide for eons against a race that is both defenseless and unaware. A race which has long been thought is nothing more than myth and superstition. This race, we know as human.
See, I followed the plot.
These charges are serious and damaging, envoy.
Ah, they didn't know.
You had better provide ample and undeniable proof of these heinous accusations.
Members of the Senate, I present to you a spokesman, the human Gideon Wyeth.
And that's undisputable.
I'm here to accuse the Seekers of destroying my world. I was witness to their bloody arrival on Edumea, their deliberate and directed murder of my fellow people, and the complete eradication of my...
This is simply unbelievable. These charges are preposterous. The Seekers are responsible for the sapiency of many of us in this very room. I recommend that you use your vaunted sapiency, Senator, for this data is undeniable. The Encol have requested the floor, as is the right of the accused. Senator Mega, how do you wish to respond to this?
These ridiculous and obviously fabricated accusations are unworthy of a response, Your Honor.
The evidence is in
Classic.
all, Senator. If you wish to debate its
Classic.
authenticity, then provide us with your counterproof. You and your race stand on the brink of being accused of the greatest crime in the history of civilization. I will ask you one more time, Senator.
What the?
Hello, my love. Olivia?
What?
This drama has gone on for long enough. You will look upon a true human, my children. Your collective histories, your countless religions, all bear witness to me.
What?
You know this to be true. The beauty of my divine form has been worshipped and fellow artists since time immemorial.
The statues.
Which stands before you today is a pathetic remnant of an over-ambitious race, which were too proud to worship me and my kind. They even dared to emulate our divine forms.
What?
This crude blasphemy, this sacrilege was too abhorrent for us to allow. They were warned. They were commanded. Yet still these arrogant fools ignored our counsel. We concluded that only the most stringent actions could end this horror. Listed the faithful Encol, whom you aptly heralded as seekers, and commanded them to clean this arrogant race from off the face of our galaxy. I come here before you today to absolve you of any crimes. I come here for another reason as well, my children. To return from the shadows of power, to retake our throne of stars, to rule our scattered children once more. Rejoice, my children, for your gods have returned.
No! This is a lie! I have seen the true power of humanity. This creature intends to deceive us. No!
What the? What the game continues? But I saw the credits. Those are the rules. If you see the credits of a game, you won. Oh, I retain the dark fire. Weapons. Those are the rules. Well, apparently they are not. Oh, more of these guys. Alright, she can defend herself. What? Yeah, they are running. What a strange turn of events. Can I kill her? So, Gideon's fiancée turned into a mad god and comes here to enslave everyone. Or at least fight against the humans. I don't know. God damn it. Remember I complained about the final boss, or what I thought it was the final boss, being easy and and out of nowhere. Well, I think the game answered your questions, gentlemen, and that I'm beginning to think that she's immune. How do I escape? How do I evade that? God damn it. Yeah. It crashed. But, great news! Great news! The game has a proper final boss, apparently. Or maybe it continues, maybe it goes on, I don't know. I didn't expect to see a boss after the credits rolled. That's certainly a creative way of doing so. But yeah, let's see here. And we also this. And here we are. Great. God damn it. She's killing everyone. Don't ask me how I'm supposed to evade that. Can I get out of here? Oh well, that's a pretty long corridor. Oh, she throws rocks. And she's quite accurate. First, let's try to kill these guys. Or maybe they spawn endlessly. Oh, she can laugh. Well, I think we are facing God. Interesting. What the? I was going to use negate, but maybe it's like I think it's impossible to reflect. Maybe it's like if I had to use the surge ability. Oh, if I had to use the surge ability last time to throw that rock and kill that beast that you saw today, maybe the solution is to manipulate either the rocks or something in the environment to kill her somehow. Maybe it's that thing. Just like Ganondorf and... Oh yeah, it's like Ganondorf. Yeah, it's like Ganondorf and Link in... Maybe we have to throw a rock. I don't... God damn it. These idiots. Maybe it's like Ganondorf and Link in Ocarina of Time. Yeah, I'm happy there's a proper final boss. Can I manipulate the rocks as well? Well, I can defend myself against those rocks, at least. Yeah, I kept a grenade. Now, logic tells me that she's going to throw that, that big black shadow ball. Yeah, it's just like tennis. Now I can shoot her. Or maybe, because I see that I'm not damaging her, maybe I have to lift and throw a rock. But there are no... Oh, she's either back at full strength or... What? She has a barrier. I'm not damaging her. Just like the other boss. Just like the other boss, the previous boss. I'm not damaging her at all. There we go. So these guys spawn... Oh boy. Every time. Picked up 189 rounds for Darkfire. I don't think any weapon will damage her at this point. Now, if weapons haven't damaged her, logic says that rocks will. Yeah, I think it damaged her. Alright. It's not that difficult. Alright. What the... Why did I do that? Let's use the usual powers and let's keep the surge over here. What the? Ah! She instantly kills you. Oh, I'm alive. Right. Negate, maybe will save me? Yeah, Negate saves you. Nice. Oh. There she comes again. Oh boy. So just in case, I'll leave this over here. Just in case she tries to do that again. There she is. Damn. Such an epic boss fight. I also haven't mentioned how interesting... Oh, I failed. I failed the tennis course. I need to take tennis classes. Place another black and big and destructive ball of shadow energy. Yeah, thanks. There we go. I love how the final fight, the final boss of the game is just like Ganondorf and Link. Alright, and so now the logic for this game applies again. When weapons don't work, use rocks. I learned that the hard way last time. Could you please kill your minions once again? Oh. Damn. Oh, damn it. What? No, please, no. And there it comes. Oh, there's a guy. Hello? Coming from that direction. Alright, one more Shadow Ball, Gengar, please. Damn. This game, I don't know why that got through the barrier, but... There we go. And now, rocks.
This ends now. The pain will be intense, my love.
Oh. She's Olivia. Oh boy. Alright. 100. What's that? What's that? A new power. Oh, it's like an implosion. Oh, he just opened the rift portal. I think it's evident the game needed a sequel. Indeed. Indeed. Oh. This is like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the third season, Dimension World Saga. One of the best seasons ever. It's my personal favorite, by the way. Yep. Dimension World Saga all over again. I love how they took the time to create a new haircut for Gideon. We continue. But what's that new... Oh, I'm dying. Oh, I love how our friend here followed us all the way to here. What's that new power? Wait. So the game continues, even after the credits rolled. I can see the powers tab. They don't want to spoil the surprise for me, I guess. Oh, I can change my powers. Actually, I can't use them. I can just walk. Can I jump? No, I can't. If you had any doubts that this game wasn't a cinematic experience, here you have your answer. Just like a movie. Yeah, not much to do over here. Was I supposed to get somewhere? No, I don't think so. What? Don't tell me the ending is a cliffhanger. Yeah, definitely this was going to be a trilogy. So sad. Now I'm sad. Now I'm sad because Majesco will never do the rest. Of this trilogy. Alright. Alright, gentlemen. What a roller coaster. What a roller coaster. So sad. First contact. What was that pow? And if we press play, yeah, we go back to the beginning. Skip, yeah, we go back to the beginning. But we have all of the levels unlocked. That's for sure. So exit, main menu. Third slot and level select. Alright, there wasn't a 7th chapter. There was the epilogue. Alright, which was the boss fight. Alright, gentlemen. It's the time that you've been all waiting for. And if you weren't waiting for this, sorry. This is what's going to happen. Let's head over, gentlemen. After 7 days, no more, 8 days of playing the game, a lot of hardships, a lot of wipes, a lot of experience, the learning curve, everything being stacked 2 days on a single level. We've got, yeah, it's been only 1 hour and a half. Excellent, perfectly. I timed it perfectly. Let's get to the final analysis for Advent Rising. This is my favorite time after playing a game. Get ready, grab some popcorn, grab some Coke, whichever beverage you may want to grab, and because this will be a long analysis. We've got a lot of features to cover. We've been waiting for this for a week, so this is going to be long. We'll go slowly but surely through every category for the in-depth, professional, and technical analysis for Advent Rising, contrary to what the shill and disgusting gaming press does. Alright, gentlemen. Let's head over the first category of the analysis for Advent Rising. The gameplay category of the analysis. Alright. The first thing we need to highlight is that this game was released in 2005. You can check out the first VOD. We do a recap of all of the story for this game. It was developed by Majesco, released on the original Xbox and on PC. I'll talk about the technical state of the game during the next category for the analysis. But for now, the gameplay. Quite ahead of its time, if I had to describe it in one word, one meaning, one concept, it's that the game's gameplay was way ahead of its time. A modern checkpoint system coupled with a modern auto-refilled health bar system makes this game not only sorry, I forgot about the analysis music. Not only perfect for newcomers, to the old school original Xbox, PlayStation 2, as well as Nintendo GameCube, all of the 128-bit consoles, the 6th generation of consoles. This game is perfect for newcomers due to those two things: the modern checkpoint system and the modern health bar system, which auto-refills itself. Now, a lot of enemy variety, a lot of weapon variety. There are like 10 weapons for you to use. Dual wielding, which was a classic back in this particular age of gaming. Halo 2 popularized the dual wielding mechanic for weapons. Advent Rising can be played in third person as well as first person, so that only tells you how incredibly adaptive the game is. So, way ahead of its time, quite versatile. Versatile would be the perfect word that fits the description. Perfect for newcomers to old school third person shooters. The gameplay mechanics are so smooth, and on top of that, the physics are so good, and I'll talk about that during the technical section of the analysis, but the physics blend perfectly with the movements, with the gameplay movements, the dodging mechanic, the jumping mechanics, that makes a perfect blend of core gameplay mechanics. So perfect, in fact, not only because of that, but also because of the fact that even the most simple actions, such as jumping, dodging, and I'll get to this later, the kinetic powers, all of them level up. The mastery of each one of the 10 or 12 weapons that the game has, I can't remember the precise amount of the precise number of weapons that it has, but it has a lot of weapon variety, and you can level up by using those weapons the power that they have, which will help you deal far more damage. So the gameplay system requires you to level up the weapons and the kinetic powers and those actions that I've been mentioning. I forgot about the melee mechanics. The jumping, the dodging, the melee. At the beginning of the game, I thought this was my personal experience that the melee mechanic was useless, and I was wrong, as you can see during the 7th or 8th bod, in which I suddenly begin using it, and after being stuck for 2 days, I realized that it's quite important due to the executions. My mistake was not using those melee mechanics at the beginning of the game, and thus leveling them up. And by the time I reached the 7th level, the 7th gameplay, it was like the 4th chapter or the 5th chapter for the game, they were underleveled. I think I had a level 1 or 2 melee. I think it was level 1, which didn't allow me to do executions. So that was my mistake. Which implies, gentlemen, that the game, even if it has a modern checkpoint system, a modern auto-refilled health bar system, it has the classic hard difficulty and learning curve of a 128-bit generation game. And that's great news, because on hard difficulty, at least, it's quite a challenge. It has a learning curve, as I mentioned, and if you don't learn how to play the game properly, you'll be stuck and you'll die over and over again on hard difficulty. On normal and easy difficulties, I haven't tried them out, but I assume it will be a bit more forgiving to new players. But I think anyone who may want to look into this, it's quite the old school player, so I can certify you that on hard mode, the game is a challenge. Next part of the gameplay category of the analysis. Yes, this will be long. It has a lot of things. This particular game has a lot of small perks and attention to detail that I need to cover. The kinetic powers. During the second half of the game, you are not only introduced to kinetic powers, but you have to learn how to use them, because they turn from a useless mechanic into a critical and essential mechanic to the gameplay, that if you don't know how to use them, you are literally doomed. In fact, the game forces you, and at the beginning, my initial impression was that I was frustrated when I was forced by the game. You can check out the bots. When I was forced by the game during the 4th level, I think it is, when you assault the Seeker starship, I was quite frustrated that I was being forced to use kinetic powers instead of weapons. Little did I know that the game was trying to teach me the usage of all of those kinetic powers for a reason, which is that they become essential during the final levels for the game. You can check out that I ended up the final sections of the game. I ended up doing them without any kind of weapon. You can check them out. I cleared them out. I even cleared a section which was supposed to be completed with a vehicle using only kinetic powers, gentlemen. That can tell you how complex and how well thought out the gameplay mechanics of this game are. In the description of my Twitch page, I describe the gameplay category as the ever-expanding core mechanics that the game has and how good they are. Well, this game particularly stresses the word expansive gameplay mechanics, of ever expansive gameplay mechanics. So much, it stresses it so much that during the final levels for the game, the gameplay mechanics are completely different than those that you have at the beginning of the game. You go from not using kinetic powers at all to using only kinetic powers. Using only kinetic powers to clear sections and beat bosses, as you could see right now. It's a shame. It's a shame that I didn't get to play the game with those thick game guides that we got back in the day, in which that they explained all of the gameplay mechanics. Another thing regarding, we're still in the gameplay category of the analysis. The game features alternative fire for most, if not all, weapons. I haven't tried all of them, but I think it was all of them. As well as the kinetic powers. So there's an alternative fire to the weapons, to the 10 or 12 weapons in the game, and also for the 8 kinetic powers. So there's a total of 16 kinetic powers in total, because there's 8 times 2, because they have, each one of them has alternative fire. And then we have the alternative fire for each one of the 12 or 10 weapons in the game, which makes a ridiculously insane amount of weapons for the game if you consider them thoroughly, if you painstakingly analyze the incredibly insane amount of weapons. It's impressive, certainly impressive, because I think I haven't seen such a weapon variety in a long time. If you consider that this was released in 2005, that only increases the impressive feat that this is. So, absolutely legendary weapon variety, absolutely incredible gameplay mechanics, smooth and perfect. Now, let's get to the next part of the gameplay section of the analysis. There's one mechanic I wanted to highlight, which is the shield mechanic for the blue enemies, for the blue Zeekers. Also, I mentioned that it has a lot of enemy varieties. You have the hounds at the beginning of the game, which only attack you with melee. Then the game mixes those melee enemies with the first ranged enemies, the first standard Seekers, and then you are presented with this enemy that I'm going to tell you about, and then we'll go over the rest of the enemies. The Shield Seeker enemy, the blue one, the one which has a blue armor on his shoulder. When you attack him relentlessly, shooting him with all that you got at the beginning of the game, mostly using only weapons, they pull out that shield. They use that shield once you begin relentlessly attacking them, and they reflect your shots. They reflect your fire against you, and they kill you in a second, at least on hard difficulty, that is. But they can kill you in a second. That forces the player to retreat. That forces the player to be ever vigilant and to be alerted constantly when you see one of those enemies, when he's going to pull out that shield and kill you in a second if you're continuously pressing the mouse buttons. You can keep the mouse buttons pressed to continuously fire enemies in this game. And thus, that was the I think that statistically it was the main reason I died so many times in this game. The shield mechanic, which one would call it a stupid mechanic, but it's essential to the gameplay. It's subtle, but it's an important detail. It's essential to the gameplay, at least during the first half of the game, because it forces you to retreat, not simply to think, to retreat and then strategically think what you are going to do, which enemy you are going to kill first, in order to proceed through the levels and all of that. So the shield mechanic is quite critical for the game, and it's an excellent mechanic, excellently implemented, brilliant mechanic. So I need to praise it and give credit where it's due. Next, gentlemen, next, the spawn system. The game has a mix of spawn systems which are quite interesting for a game that was released in 2005, gentlemen. Just like Call of Duty World at War, just like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, just like Call of Duty 2, the game features an enemy spawn mechanic, which in some sections of the game, mostly the first ones, it forces you to in some sections, not all of them, the game forces you to push through endless waves of enemy spawns, in which even if you kill them over and over again, they'll simply just keep spawning and you'll be forced to push through them. So kill them and push through, and until you don't get to a specific location inside that level, you are not able to progress through it. It's the very same mechanic that I saw at the end of Call of Duty World at War, during Call of Duty Modern Warfare some years ago. I think Call of Duty 2 also has it, especially for the final level. I don't want to get banned by Twitch or YouTube. The Palace level, you can imagine, it's World War 2. Final level for Call of Duty World at War. You can imagine which Palace I'm talking about. I've mentioned this in some of the bots. You can imagine it. It's the very same mechanic. But that's not the only spawn mechanic that the game has. In some other levels, you are locked somewhere, for example, inside the space station of the first level, and you are forced to defeat a certain amount of enemies to progress. What I'm trying to tell you is that the game has creative ways of making you fight and forces you to adapt to a plethora of situations that force you to improve in your gameplay and in the gameplay mechanics for the game, in the usage of the gameplay mechanics for the game, in the usage of the alternative fire, in the use of the alternative fire, in the use of the kinetic powers, to learn that it's not simply using the rocket launcher all the time. Some weapons are effective against some enemies, some against others, but so far I think the best weapons are the rocket launcher as well as the Darkfire assault rifle. Alright. One thing I wanted to highlight regarding the gameplay is that the game has difficulty spikes on hard difficulty, and even if it has a modern checkpoint system and all of that, I have to tell you that even if I mentioned all of this, bear in mind that it can get a bit frustrating at some specific points of the game, especially due to the fact, and this is the biggest flaw that I could spot in the game, due to the unclear objective system, gentlemen. Sometimes you saw it during the bots, you don't know what to do. at some points. You don't know if you have to push through, if you have to, if you are facing the first enemy spawn mechanic that I mentioned, you have to push through endless waves of enemies and get to a certain spot, to a certain location inside that level, and then you'll be able to progress through it. You don't know if you have to do that, or stay and fight. And that happened to me a lot of times, in which I was in a situation in which I didn't know if I had to push through waves and waves of enemies and simply get through them and ignore them. You can see that, and this is related to the technical aspect of the game. Once the game crashed at the beginning of the gameplays, and I had to go all the way back during the first level, I simply skipped the fights because I had already beaten them. And so I could simply use the dodge mechanic, just press shift and get through the enemies, hope they don't kill me, and yeah, I survived and I didn't have to repeat the level. Well, I repeated it in the sense that I had to use the dodge mechanic and walk through it, but I didn't stay and fight. That's the thing. So that's the biggest flaw that I can mention to all of you about the game. The objective system, which is unclear and shows us that the game would greatly benefit from a remake. This game would particularly benefit from a remake. Alright. I think I covered all of the gameplay mechanics possibly. The alternative fire, the kinetic powers, the use of them, the enemy spawns, and I covered the melee executions, all of the powers. Perfect, perfect. So, let's get to the technical part of the analysis. If I forgot something, I don't think I forgot something. It was like 30 minutes. Alright, but this is the way we do things here, gentlemen. So, technical aspect, technical category for the analysis of the analysis for Advent Rising. Sorry. The current technical state of the game, as you all knew, the game was released in 2005. I mentioned this countless times. The PC version for the game was broken up until recently, when the community for this game released a community patch, which was the one I have been using for all of this gameplay. So make sure you download it, because otherwise the game is absolutely broken, just like Stabs the Zombie, which got recently remastered. This one didn't have that lack, sadly. The game is completely broken without the community patch. But with the community patch, I could play it at an unlocked resolution. I played it at 1440p and at an unlocked frame rate, 1440p in my 144 refresh rate, sorry. Also unlocked, both resolution and frame rate unlocked. So you saw the stream at 1080p, of course. With the community patch, the game has been mostly fixed, but sadly, it didn't fix the crashes. I don't know if the game had crashes previously to applying the community patch. I don't know which was the technical state of the game previous to the community patch. But even after applying the community patch and playing through the game with the community patch, which I think it's actually the only way to play the game under perfect conditions, which would be 1440p resolution and 144 refresh rate, frame rate, or even more, since it's unlocked, the game crashes. The game crashes. When does it do so? right before a cinematic. Right before a cinematic, it could happen. That's not a problem because you simply quit the game, re-enter it, and the game saves when it displays a cinematic. It saves during cinematics and also during checkpoints. If you quit the game before reaching the cinematic, the checkpoint is not saved. So if you quit the game, if you close it and go away and go have lunch or do another thing, and then come back and you close the game, you'll start at the last cinematic, not the last checkpoint. So I recommend getting to a cinematic before quitting the game. Before you quit the game, sorry. Alright. So, the second scenario in which the game can crash, it's if you die and die and die and die and die a lot of times in a boss fight, in some scenario, and it can get a bit frustrating. It can crash if you die a lot at the very same spot. It has happened to me countless times. You have to do the level, maybe, all over again, because maybe there wasn't any cinematics. It happened to me during the particular section in which I was stuck for 2 days until I learned to use the alternative fire for the weapons. It was a learning curve, understandable, but due to the technical limitations of the game, you have to do that level all over again. The good news is that the game's levels are relatively short. They are relatively short, and once you get to know what you're doing, it's not that much of a problem. It can be frustrating for people who are not used to that, but for old school players who I think are the only people who are going to play Advent Rising at this point. Sadly, the infection of Fortnite has destroyed the future somehow, and a lot of other multiplayer disgusting games. So I don't think it's that much of a problem, because this game is for old school players and they know these things can happen. So beware of the crashes, but the game runs at an unlocked resolution and at an unlocked frame rate after applying the community patch on PC. I don't think you're going to play the game on the original Xbox with the Duke. That would certainly be a challenge. But if you do that, I assume it runs at 30 FPS. Maybe it runs at 60, I don't know, but I don't think so. One thing I forgot about the gameplay category of the analysis, I knew I was forgetting something, is the lock-on system. By using the mouse wheel, you can lock onto enemies, and by then pressing shift and dodging, you can use the slow motion and actually attack enemies during that slow motion effect. Pretty much like Max Payne 1 and 2, which I think they are I mentioned this before getting into the analysis, but Max Payne 1, Max Payne 2, Psyops the Mindgate Conspiracy, Kill Switch, I think they are the only... I didn't mention Max Payne, but those 4 are the only third-person shooters that come close to the level of perfection that Advent Rising can reach. Alright. The lock-on system. It's useful even for a PC player. At the beginning I thought it was useless, since I said, as most of you would do, I'll use the mouse and auto-target them. Well, no, it's useful, and you should use, and this is part of the learning curve, you should use the lock-on system for the game. Not because you can't properly target the enemies without it, which I think it would be the situation if I tried to play this using the Duke on the original Xbox at 30 FPS. But you should use the lock-on system before because without it you can't trigger the slow motion effect, which gives you a huge and needed advantage, a necessary advantage, sorry, when you are facing the most difficult challenges that the game has to offer. If you don't use a lock-on system, even if you are playing on PC, you will not trigger the slow motion, and first of all, you'll deal less damage, because during slow motion Gideon automatically targets the enemy's head, but also once you unlock the Shatter ability, that one is not affected by a slow motion, which allows you to deal an insane amount of damage in a short period of time, in which even if you are not invulnerable, while dodging, while using the dodge mechanic, which by the way it also improves if you use it, you can also level that up. Well, it doesn't make you invulnerable. You can kill critical targets in the blink of an eye, and that can give you such a strategic advantage that will allow you to overcome the greatest challenges that the game has to offer, especially on hard mode. So I've covered gameplay, the technical aspect, and now, gentlemen, we'll get to the level design category for the analysis. I told you it would be a long analysis, and it's going to be so. This is the way which everyone should be analyzing video games properly, not like the Shield Gaming Press does. Level design. I mentioned that there are two spawn mechanics for the enemies. But let's get to the environment. The environment and the complexity that it has. Not the shocking aspect of it that let's reserve for the grandeur category, but the level design. Most of the levels are definitely wide. Most of them. There's a particular level which is the assault on the Seeker spaceship, which is quite narrow, and it added a great deal of difficulty for the game. You can actually use the environment. To give you an advantage. What am I trying to say with this? Simply pushing enemies with your force push, your surge power, and throw them into space, throw them into the lava. There's a lot of variety for the level design. Narrow passages, wide areas, a lot of enemy encounters that I mentioned this. The spawn mechanics are quite varied. You face a lot of enemies. There's a lot of enemy variety, a lot of boss variety, because even if the game has 5 or 6 bosses, they are all different between each other. The mechanics are completely different. So the level design, it's also quite excellent. The level design for the game, it's also quite excellent. Sometimes you have to. There are vehicle sections, just like in Halo. We can see the Halo heritage in this particular category for the analysis. You have to use the Warthog. In this game, it's called the Scythe. To progress through certain levels, just like you would do in Halo. You have to use the vehicles you saw me use right now at the ending of the game. And there are a lot of sections like that. The game has a lot of different situations, so that make the game varied. Sometimes you have to endlessly fight waves of enemies. Sometimes you have to use the Warthog, the Scythe. Sometimes you have to use other heavy vehicles. There are a lot of boss fights, 5 or 6 boss fights, with different mechanics for each one of them. You assault a spaceship, you land on a beach, you go through lava at the ending of the game, you get to the Galactic Senate, you push through the Aurelian Enclave, Conclave, whatever it's called. Sometimes you have to fight your enemies without any kind of weapon, and that's a level design choice. There are some levels in which you are not given any kind of weapon, and they can be pretty frustrating and difficult at the beginning, especially when you try to escape the Aurelian Conclave. And that's a level design choice, to put the player in a situation in which the developer tells you, well, you have no weapons. You have to get out of here without any kind of weapons. Some other sections, which I mentioned, the assault on the Seeker gunship, in which the narrow passages cause you to fall off a lot. It's quite a difficulty. It's the first difficulty spike that the game has. It can be pretty frustrating, but the level design for this game is brilliant. It was usual during the 128-bit generation of video game consoles to have such an excellent level design, but this one is absolute excellence. Absolute excellence. Of course, I still think that Halo 2 and Halo 1, which were also released for the original Xbox, are gods. They are the best of the best, but this one has a lot of variety. So, pretty polished and insane attention to detail for the level design. The one thing I wanted to highlight, that maybe I should have done so at the beginning, the environment of the first level, I call it the Citadel Station because it's just like in Mass Effect. So the environment, you can listen to conversations in the background while you are traversing through that level, while you are learning the tutorial and all of those things. You can listen to background conversations, a lot of things. There's always, during the second level, people running in the background, escaping from the impending orbital bombardment that the Seekers are going to do of the human planet, of the human colony at least. So the environment plays quite a big role in this game, and that is that it's excellent and it creates a perfect environment for the game. So, excellent enemy encounters, excellent enemy spawn mechanics, excellent boss fights, interesting mechanics, enemy variety, all of those things, all of those concepts make the level design of Advent Rising perfect. I need to argue to all of you why I'm praising the game so much, why I've been praising the game so much, because it has everything that one could ask for, especially considering it was released in 2005. Grandeur category of the analysis. How shocking the story and the development of the plot, of the characters, of the soundtrack it has on the player. The impact those things had on the player. Alright, let's begin with the obvious, which is the fact that the plot was written by Orson Scott Card, the author for Ender's Game, which is a quite famous science fiction novel particularly one of my favorites, so you can imagine why I had to play this game. And so, what can I tell you? It's written by a legend of the science fiction genre, but I had adapt, which I think most of you may have, which is, okay, Orson Scott Card was a legend writing books, but how does that adapt to creating a story for a video game? Well, I think that it adapted perfectly. The story, it's a perfect space opera translated to a video game. It has a lot of references to Ender's Game. For example, the use of the term baggers, and civil connection. You can see that it has a lot of terminology for Ender's Game. That it's that of Ender's Game. So that made me tell you and comment that the game, it's a mix between Mass Effect's environment, Halo mechanics, because of the Warthog sections, because of the gunplay, as they call it right now, which are the shooting mechanics. Actually, they are quite similar to Halo, in the sense that enemies are bullet sponges, and that they are quite smooth, just like in Halo. And also a mix of Ender's Game, because the plot, it's just like in Ender's Game. It uses the same terms. It was written by the same person. It's literally an adaptation of Ender's Game to a video game. That's why it has a lot of encounters and gameplay mechanics. Soundtrack. Apparently the soundtrack was created by Talarico Studios. Sorry if I butchered that name. But apparently it was a famous, I don't know about music, but it was a famous record studio, and the soundtrack is quite good. It's tad repetitive, but it's not a problem if it's good, and the soundtrack is excellent for the game. I would have included, but this is a common criticism that I usually do for all of the games, I would have included the credits theme with the lyrics and the voiced song during the game, instead of simply having background music. But that's absolutely personal, and that doesn't affect the final qualification. But because I know it's a lot of people don't like that, and that it's absolutely personal. So, the story, gentlemen. We have the protagonist, Gideon Wyatt, who is a pilot, and he begins to work with his brother, which was Ethan Wyatt, and he begins to make his career as a pilot. There we can see the bully psychology of Ender's Game during the first section of it, in which the soldiers are jealous of the pilots, and they try to bully Gideon and Ethan. And there you can see the psychology of Ender's Game, the bully psychology. You are faced with a choice during the first level of the game, so I presume that afterwards you have to choose between Ethan and Gideon's fiancée, Olivia, which you just saw. So I don't suggest watching this before watching the VODs, but you have to choose between them. And then whichever you choose accompanies you during the next levels for the game. I assume that Majesco had to create alternative cinematics in the case I had chosen Ethan instead of Olivia. I didn't know it was a choice. during that moment. It made me doubt that a game this ancient had choice mechanics, role-playing choice mechanics. But well, I chose Olivia, but if I had chosen Ethan, I presume the game had custom cinematics designed specifically for that choice. And that takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of resources that for the developer, and I need to praise that. So consequently, gentlemen, I can only tell you that I think the story was quite good. After that decision, we get to the political part of the game. We discover the Aurelians. They had given us a translator by this point. At this point, sorry. We learn about the powers. We get trained. Another shocking thing. This must sound stupid for all of you, but an insane detail, an insane attention to detail that I saw, and that it was quite polished, was the fact that the hair of Gideon, of the protagonist, grew and changed, and he had different haircuts, let's say. Even for that short epilogue, they had designed a different haircut for Gideon that you saw right now. So that's an insane detail. I would have never expected to see a game back in 2005 in which the protagonist changed its haircut and its outfit. The outfit for the protagonist was also changed every 2 or 3 levels for each chapter, I think it was, of the campaign. That insane attention to detail must be polished, must be praised because of how polished it is, sorry. And I need to tell you that because of all of these things, the game can have an impact on the player. Because of the environment, mainly because of the environment, and those insane details that the game has. The story is quite good. It's your standard space opera, but consider that this was 2005. It was well written. There's a cohesively developed plot and character development. Gideon develops as a character cohesively, something that most modern games don't understand, in my opinion. He had to be trained before using the kinetic powers. He was a soldier, he was a pilot, so he knew how to use weapons. There was a lot of context that justified him using all of those weapons so proficiently. With this criticism, with this comment, I'm trying to criticize Rey from Star Wars, who goes from not knowing how to use the Force to be a master of it. And no, I haven't watched the rest of the films. I only watched episode 7. It was terrible, and I can't imagine how tremendously disgusting the episode 8 and 9 must be. But that's a side note. There's a cohesively developed character, a lot of character development. He loses then his second relative, his second beloved person, which is either Ethan or Olivia. So no matter which one of them you chose previously, the second one dies, and consequently Gideon is left alone. So I actually don't know if I had chosen Ethan, a different outcome. It would have been if it would have been a different outcome. So I'll leave to all of you to try it out and choosing Ethan, and try to discover the alternative cinematics, the different cutscenes that the game has. But excellent. There's choice. There's everything. It's not as roleplay heavy. It doesn't have the heavy role-playing elements that Mass Effect has. This one is more focused in the action part of the game, and I think that's quite positive. So excellent. Grandeur. The game has an excellent grandeur. Innovation. And this is the part of the analysis. Let's get to the final part of the analysis, which is the innovation category. Needless to say, it's certainly imperative to compare Advent Rising with the prime examples of third-person shooters of this generation, of the 128-bit generation, the 6th generation, the generation of the PlayStation 2, original Xbox, and the Nintendo GameCube, as well as the Sega Dreamcast. I've mentioned countless times Max Payne 1, Max Payne 2, Psyops the Mindgate Conspiracy, Kill Switch, Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter, Feria, Unreal Championship 2, The Lakari Conflict, Dark Watch Black, even though those were first-person shooters, but Advent Rising can be played in third-person mode, so you can still compare them to those. Streets of LA, True Crime Streets of LA, all of those that I'm mentioning are excellent third-person shooters of the original Xbox. Mercenaries 1, Mercenaries 2, I think it's from the Xbox 360 instead of the original Xbox, so it wouldn't fall into that same category. Under that same category, sorry. So, when you compare Advent Rising to all of those, of course I haven't played all of those, but I know more or less the gameplay mechanics of all of them and played most of them. So I can tell you that Advent Rising has the best features of those games. It has a lot of fresh ideas and innovative mechanics. For example, the alternative fire for the weapons, the mix of kinetic powers and standard weapons, it's quite fresh and quite impressive for the time this game was developed in, coupled with an excellent pathfinding system and coupled with excellent artificial intelligence. The game turns into a quite refreshing idea, because not all of those third-person shooters that I've been mentioning took the time to create such complex gameplay mechanics in such a way that you end up using the kinetic powers at the end of the game. I mentioned this during the gameplay section of the analysis. You end up with totally different gameplay mechanics at the end of the game when you compare them with the beginning of the game. You end up using almost exclusively kinetic powers instead of using shooting mechanics, while at the beginning of the game you actually use only shooting mechanics up until Gideon gets to train with the Aurelians. Then you have to learn about alternative fire. Actually, learning how to use alternative fire allowed me to finish a level in which I was stuck for 2 days. And all of that, it's pure genius and pure innovation. It contributes a lot it contributes a lot to the pillars, the foundations of the third-person shooter genre. A different story is the fact that this game was completely ignored and that it has been forgotten, and all of those mechanics are mostly ignored. But trust me, a lot of other games would benefit greatly of learning from the mechanics present in Advent Rising. A lot of innovation. If you are looking for a fresh idea, Advent Rising, it's one definitely. And the alternative fire, the kinetic powers, the dodge mechanic wasn't that common back in 2005. It wasn't that common. Remember, there was no Dark Souls, there was no popular modern lock-on system. The targeting system, which The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time popularized previously to Advent Rising, wasn't used so much as this game used it. Again, you have to compare this game to Max Payne 1, Max Payne 2, The Punisher 2004, Stabs the Zombie, even though that one wasn't a third-person shooter, a pure third-person shooter. All of the ones I mentioned. Psyops, the Mind Conspiracy, all of those. Macy Griffin, Bounty Hunter. And when you compare this game to those, first of all, the camera, it's far more comfortable. The dodge mechanics are quite refreshing for 2005. Those games, I think none of them have the dodge mechanic. I may be wrong. But the fact that you have to level up the dodge mechanic, that you have to level up a simple action such as jumping, I think it's something I haven't seen in any other game. Up until Mass Effect, that is. There are rumors, and this is as a conclusion, because the level up system was the pinnacle of the innovation that this game had, of the jump, of the dash, of all of those. As a conclusion, this game is rumored to be a prototype of Mass Effect. I'm not sure how much of that is true, but apparently I would say that it's true, all things considered. All things considered, I would say it's a prototype of Mass Effect. A more action-oriented prototype. I praise Majesco for this work of art. And Advent Rising. Another thing, when this game was released, we almost forgot to mention this. During the first stream, a viewer checked this out. I also checked it out later. The game had a tournament in which it was like this. One lucky Xbox Live player would get $1 million, but then they had to cancel that tournament due to cheating. And so that I deduced because of that the game was going to have, or it was aiming to have, it pretended to have an online community and make tournaments just like Halo 1 and Halo 2 and all of those things. It was supposed to be an Xbox Live game as well, so not only it wanted to have an excellent campaign, but also excellent online mode and tournaments and all of that, all of the esports scene of that time, which tells you that the game was in fact ahead of its time, because now we have those. But back in the day, those weren't so popular. So, another thing. The game was supposed to be, you could see the to be continue, was supposed to be part of a trilogy. Actually, Majesco was working on a spin-off of this game, for the PSP, much like Bethesda was working on the Oblivion port for the PSP, which was cancelled. But this game was going to have a spin-off on the PSP, as well as it was going to be part of a trilogy for the Xbox 360. Remember that this came out on the final part of the life cycle of the original Xbox, 2005. I think the last game for the original Xbox was on 2006, and the Xbox 360 released on 2006, so it was released during the final section of its life cycle. It could easily, I hope a remake for this is done instead of game companies wasting resources on useless remakes, such as the Mass Effect, the remake that we're going to have right now, which is useless because Mass Effect doesn't need a remake at all. At least that's my take on it. Burnout Paradise Remastered, all of those games don't need remastered remakes and remasters, but well. Some of the textures for the jungles that we saw in the game were bad, but the water, it had water ripples. I mentioned this during the first part of the gameplay. The water has a resolution that you could easily mistake for a modern game. Only the water, but you could mistake it for a modern game. And this game has, I mentioned this, that art style, which is my personal favorite art style, which is that of Knights of the Old Republic 1, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Halo 1, Halo 2, of those metal interiors for ships that didn't have ambient occlusion. It didn't have the ambient occlusion effect, so there were no shadows. And that's an art style that I personally think it's extremely, criminally underrated. Because I love that art style, and there are Republic Commando, Star Wars Republic Commando, also had that art style of metal interiors, but without ambient occlusion, without resorting to ambient occlusion. And that unlocked resolutions, the game looks excellent. It's the particular art style that I love. It's quite similar to the interiors of the ships in Halo 1 and Halo 2, in KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2. So, gentlemen, it's my favorite art style. That specific section, Midtown Madness 3, even if it didn't have metallic interiors for spaceships, it was a free roam racing game, also had those graphics. They were all similar. All of these games that I've been mentioning, they have similar graphics. I think it used, finally, I forgot this about the technical category of the analysis, I think it used Unreal Engine 2. I'm not sure if it used the Halo engine. Stabs the Zombie used the Halo engine. I think this one used Unreal Engine 2. But this was the conclusion. And now let's get to it. The moment of truth, gentlemen. I think it's no surprise. That Advent Rising has the honor of being the first game that I qualify with an S. From F to S, an S. A perfect S, 10 out of 10. If the game deserves it, I don't believe in that premise which says that perfection doesn't exist. According to the time this game was released in, the game is the ultimate expression of third-person shooter mechanics for the original Xbox. With the community patch, fortunately we can enjoy it on PC, and the game deserves an S, and I will award it an S. There are a lot of ridiculous, disgusting game critics that think that they are um, that they are being nice with the game, or that they are being bland or something like that, because if they award the S, if they award the 100 out of 10, 10 out of 10, that's what happens to Metacritic in my opinion, but I'm not one of them, fortunately. Thanks to the gaming gods, I'm not one of them. I'll award Advent Rising an S because of all the things that I've been mentioning for the past hour and a half. Sorry if that got a bit long, but this is the way I enjoy, genuinely enjoy my work, my analysis. So, gentlemen, I award the first S of the channel. I'll remember this for a long time. The first S to the first Forgotten Gem that I try for the original Xbox on this channel. A perfect S, because of all the things that I explained previously. Gentlemen, a shout out and a massive thanks to Mr. Prixer, Mr. Kaching98, Mr. Carl Martin 1, Mr. EVL 20008, and Mr. Juden, the first 5 followers of the channel in this short month that I've been streaming. This short 2 months that I've been streaming. A bit more, 2 months and a half. So, there you have it, gentlemen. Fully recommended. Get Advent Rising while you can. Apply the community patch and enjoy this perfect third-person shooter. It's been my pleasure to have been able to showcase, this Forgotten Gem. I cannot tell you how sad I am that this game didn't get the opportunity to be that dreamed trilogy. It happens a lot, and this is a clear example why the modern age of gaming needs to change. It needs to change. We cannot have millions and millions of people playing Fortnite and disgusting third-person shooters online without any investment in artificial intelligence, in pathfinding, in story. See how Majesco hired Orson Scott Card, a legendary science fiction writer, to do this, and this game is forgotten, and the disgusting pricks, Tim Sweeney, especially at Epic Games and the Epic Games Store, are getting a lot of money for a multiplayer pile of shit. The destiny, the fate, the ultimate fate of gaming isn't to be buried beneath a pile of Fortnite skins. Give these games the love they deserve. This one was a work of art. Please, I recommend you to play. I recommend you Advent Rising for all of you to play. It's an excellent game. You can watch the gameplays. I'll upload them to YouTube right now. That's why I'll not be streaming tomorrow on Wednesday, and we'll come back on Thursday. I also have to remember I'm backing up all of the PlayStation games now that the store's closing, making backups for them. This is a mess. So, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to showcase Advent Rising for all of you. I hope more people get to experience this gem, and so far I think this is the only walkthrough I've seen on YouTube on hard mode. That's for sure. So, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure, and see you. Take care of yourselves under the difficult circumstances that the planet Earth, that the world is experiencing. Remember that there's a small delay, and I bid you farewell, gentlemen.